Up. He's back to pass, rolls near side, steps up, throws, and Landry caught it again! At the Bronco 46-yard line, Bryce Callahan made the tackle and a first down, 14 yards.
And the juice is juiced. He is ready to go.
3rd down and 10. He's got the snap, back to pass, in the pocket. He's going to load up. He's going into the end zone. It's picked off.
And he undercut the throw.
Oh, finally, a turnover. 1st down and goal. Keenum takes the snap. He's going to throw. He's throwing for Stanton. Touchdown! Left corner of the end zone. Keenum ready, takes the snap, turns, gives to Ernest Johnson, outside left, 35, 40, 45, he's to the 50, he's to the 46 of Denver. Keenum's got it, and he's going to give the ball, and here comes Ernest Johnson. He's to the 15, he's going to get there. He got to the 12, 1st down at the 12-yard line. 58 seconds left. Denver can't stop the clock.
Give that man a game ball.
Listen to First Energy Stadium. Just listen.
Here are your hosts, Beau Bishop and Nathan Zegura.
You guys are up.
You love a Victory Friday edition of Cleveland Browns Daily. I am merely Beau. He is the great Z. The Huff here for 2 hours. The Joe Thomas hours of the program. Boy, I tell you what. As a player, I'm sure there's nothing you hate more than the short week on a Thursday night. I imagine it's painful. I'm sure you're not ever physically right for it. But when you win a Thursday night, I have to imagine, Hoff, that leads to one hell of a weekend, and we have one here.
There's nothing sweeter than coming in Friday, getting a little shakeout lift, seeing the coaches, having all of them pat you on the back and tell you about the great job you did. And, oh, did you see that play in the 4th quarter? You did exactly what we coached you up on all week. We'll see you next Monday. And then those 2 days feels like 5. It's like the best vacation ever, sitting on the couch, watching all the other teams in your division play and beat up on each other. It's pure joy.
I mean, it was electric last night. Oh. That intro was electric. The way that they went with the blackout. You get the Hoff on the big screen.
Well, you had hoped.
We had hoped it would come together. We talked about it. Oh, well, it did work. And by the time that the Hoff got the mic, the crowd was in such a frenzy that I don't know. I couldn't hear him. I was right next to him. I was just kind of standing in the background, being a second, bouncing around while he's screaming and going nuts. It was electric.
I imagine you guys being a little bit like road warriors. Tell him, Hawk. That's kind of what
I give him a tell him Joe.
Tell him Joe.
I didn't know if I could go with the Hoff in the stadium yet.
You can.
Soon. The day is coming. But
So you would tell him, Joe.
Yeah, so I kind of did my thing, and I started to get him like a little lathered up, like I was going to go for the normal. I was like, whoa. It's prime time. We've got a surprise for you. He's a 6-time first-team All-Pro. He's a 10-time Pro Bowler. He's a living legend, the greatest left tackle who's ever played, Mr. 10,363, Joe Thomas. Tell him, Joe. And I gave him and then I don't even know what you said. Do you know what you said?
I don't remember. It's so fun being in moments like that because they were things that I never experienced as a player because you're so locked in and I'm so focused on thinking about what's my opponent, what are the adjustments, what are we doing different this week that I didn't even get to enjoy those moments in front of the crowd. But now that I'm wearing the bozo suit and tie running around like a silly goose out there in purple suit coat, I get to enjoy the atmosphere that Cleveland Browns fans provide in First Energy Stadium. It's just amazing. I think this was our 6th week of Thursday Night Football of our crew doing it. And it's just amazing going around and seeing the other stadiums and hearing like, oh, this is a great crowd. Like 2 weeks ago in Philly, oh, they're passionate. They're excited. And they were excited. But nothing compares to the excitement that happens on the shores of Lake Erie in Cleveland, Ohio. It is just a different priority, the NFL team in Cleveland, than the rest of the NFL. It just matters more here. It's just more important than anywhere else that we go in the NFL.
Today would be a wholly different day in this town if it went differently. And great news, it didn't.
It didn't.
But I thought last night and the way that you had – so they've never done this before. They blacked out the whole stadium.
Dude, that was awesome.
And there was stuff on the boards. And so the only time that I've ever experienced something like that in my life is at a WrestleMania. And that creates just this feeling that something huge is going to happen. And there was the buzz. And the way they did the intros, I don't know if they showed this on TV or not.
They did. Not to the extent, but honestly what captured it most, and I don't know if you guys have seen this or not, are the still images, especially of Jarvis and Odell, that just explode. Like, print them, put them on a poster.
Oh, my word.
They are stunning.
Beautiful.
Like, that's what really captured it on television more than the actual – that captured it, I think, better. That captured how cool it was better than the television. They showed some of it, but it was not like it would have been in the building.
The two loudest moments pregame were clearly the Hoff.
Yeah.
And then when Jarvis was announced last, that place it came unglued, as I like to say. It was awesome. And then how about the first place scripted for him? He just means so much to this team. He means so much to this city. I love him as a human being. I love him as a player.
Yep.
And just to get him there. And then how about Kevin Stefanski? And I joked with him earlier today when I was talking to him. I said, I think it had to be the pregame. You were so hyped up. You're like, we won the toss. Give us the ball. We're going to score because we always defer. And he said, no, of course, he's thinking. He's always about the win. We wanted to make sure in the fourth quarter we had the win the way we wanted it to do.
Too studious.
Too
smart.
Always.
He never breaks.
I mean, you think about that was some of the most fun. And, Joe, I don't know where you rank it, but the most fun, we'll call it 20 minutes from the Hoff to the intro to the first drive where we just went boom, 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 touchdown. And you're like, this is what it's all about, baby.
Yeah, there was so much uncertainty about what this offense was going to look like with Case Keenum and with the other guys that were injured, with Dearness Johnson. I think the people that followed the Browns like myself, and I was trying to tell everybody, hey, you may not know who Dearness Johnson is, but this dude's got something to him. When you watch him in preseason, when you watch him in training camp, he can move. He sees the holes. He can explode. He can cut. He's smart. He's not going to dance in the hole. And I believed it when I said it, but I wasn't 100% sure.
Yeah, you want to see
but that follow through that we got as fans on that first drive going, hey, this looks like something. I think we can survive. We can win some of these games. We can find a way to win. And it starts tonight. It was such an excitement of like a Christmas morning type feeling like, yes, the Christmas presents that I thought were under the tree are actually there, and I'm unwrapping them just as expected.
I think if you take that analogy a step further, it's the anxiety of, I hope I get what I asked for.
Exactly.
There's a limited edition Jordan. They got 1,500 of them out. I hope I'm the kid who gets one of them. That type of thing, and then getting it. Because, folks, and we talked about it this week, and you tried to downplay it a little bit, but this was big.
Huge.
This was huge. I hate must win. I think it's crazy. It's as close as you can be. It felt that way. When you think about the fact that the Ravens play the Bengals on Sunday, the winner of that is in first place. If it's Cincinnati and all of a sudden you're staring up at two teams at 5-2 and you're at 3-4, that's a lot of chasing. That is a lot of chasing. So there was tremendous pressure. There was also validation, right? Because we can believe in Dearness Johnson. We can believe that Case Keenum was brought here to do exactly what he did, but you want to see it. We haven't seen him play much, right? There was you were unsure about Odell and Jarvis.
Yeah.
Going into Thursday, we didn't know. We didn't know what they could give us. And then they come out and give you what they gave you. So there was it validated a lot. You were worried about the bust defensively. Did we get those things short up? Did we learn? Yes, we did. But you really needed to see it. And I think that folded all into it. From the intro, by the way, to you go from sticking a dog hat on Irv, which is unbelievable.
Incredible.
That was awesome.
The picture is just
beautiful.
Unbelievable. In
Stunning.
I just was hoping watching him, please put it on his head. I saw as soon as you stood up, I'm like, please put it on his head. And he picked the Broncos than you did.
Loved
to
it.
Go from what you hoped would work out, and then it did, the introduction of our players, and then that drive. So it's joy and it's relief because you're like, oh, we got it. We got a plan. As soon as that drive went down, I said, there's no way you're losing that game. No chance.
I felt the same, and at no point did I feel like the game was even in jeopardy, and it
never got nervous. I didn't sweat a drop.
No,
which is unusual for as much as I like to sweat.
You did today, throwing the iron around, Hoff.
I agree with you. It was the most comfortable 3-point win in the history of me watching football.
Yeah, I've sweated out a lot more 3-score victories for the Browns than last night. There was something about the way the defense was playing, even though it wasn't all perfect, of course, but the way the offense was efficient. They weren't making mistakes, right? Like, you get in those games sometimes where it feels like every time you're on the doorstep, there's a fumble or there's an interception at a bad moment. There was never that sometimes they struggled to move the ball during the game, but there was never any of those big stub your toe moments where you feel like you left something out there on offense. It was like, we're going to get what we need to win this game. And it was like a warm feeling, like a hot apple schnapps in your belly, like on a cold deer hunting afternoon.
We were
Nice
talking
apple
about hot
schnapps.
apple beverages.
I've had all
yesterday.
sorts of mint schnapps. I've never had an apple
It's
schnapps.
very warm on a
I
nice,
bet it really
cold
is.
December afternoon.
That sounds fantastic.
According to South Park, schnapps started the Civil War. So neither here nor there. But
No, it's not. It is that though. It was calming.
I will tell
there's
you
a
this.
release that comes with that. I can't imagine the stadium.
It was
on that first
It
drive.
was awesome.
awesome.
It was goosebumps. It was great. It felt kind of like once that touchdown happened, you just felt it in the building. The intro, everybody was so hyped, and but it was a confidence. And I don't know if so this was the first time that I palpably felt, especially comparing it and contrasting it to last week, that 4 o'clock, it just felt flat. Everything felt flat. It just was off. It was a weird time. We don't play a lot of 4 o'clock home games. It just felt off. The crowd, everything about it. Not to say people didn't bring it. They did. It just felt weird. But this one pregame, I was like, we're winning this. I never felt more confident in my life. It just, the vibe was, we're going to come out of here and take care of business. And I think sometimes Cleveland as a city, we as a people, love it when we are doubted. People are calling us out. We feel like our backs are against the wall, even though it's only week 7 and we hadn't played a single division game yet. It felt that way, and that's where we thrive. And that's what it was last night. I was like, okay, you're going to doubt us. We're going to show everybody on a night when everybody's watching this city, this team, this game, what we're about.
This is our 3rd year, I think, doing TNF as a group. And Steve Smith said this to me after the game. He goes, that was the best atmosphere we've ever had, bar none, by a long shot. And we had some big games in the past. A couple years ago, we had Seattle against the Rams when the Rams, I think they were coming off their Super Bowl. Russell Wilson in Seattle, it's supposed to be one of the most electric crowds. And that didn't even compare to the atmosphere last night in First Energy Stadium.
I think Jarvis.
I'm telling you
what. You look, if you don't watch the game and you see 5 catches, 37 yards, you go, boy, not much of an impact. He's all of it, man. That dude's the heartbeat. That dude, I think when you're saying you felt so confident, when you see him out there, you just go, oh, we're going to be okay. Jarvis is here. All right. That's what he is. He is a warm blanket. That's what he is. He's that warm blanket. And you just can't measure. It's funny because you say in professional athletes, you ought to all believe. And you do, of course. But he gives you an extra layer of belief. Like, oh, that guy's here. We're here. I can go to any fight I need right now. That's what it felt like to me last night when I saw him out there.
It's a different position, obviously, but it reminds me of when New England had Brady there, right?
Yeah.
The feeling was like, we're okay. We got this guy. And you look now in New England, they've got much better position players on that team than they did when Brady's last few years, but they always seem to have that mistake at the end, and they're missing a kick, like stuff that just is uncharacteristic for Bill Belichick teams, but it's all about that guy, that leader that's on the field, that you have that trust and that faith and that confidence in, that makes everybody believe in something bigger than themselves. And that's who Jarvis is for this team. And it's so great to see him back out there. And hopefully with this break, he'll be able to come back and be, 100% or at least as close to it during the season as possible.
When I talked to him after the game, I told him, I was like, dude, I love you, man. Like, seriously, I was like, I love you. I love you, man. And it just, you make such a difference. And I asked him how he was doing. He's like, we got 10 days. Like, we'll figure it out. But I think that it's that, and then it's the guts. And I'm going to use guts in a wide swath here. The guts of Kevin Stefanski on that last drive to go play action and throw it on the first down. The guts to then call a pass after they use their first time out on 2nd and 4, and you hit Jarvis Landry for a first down, and then that's when you're like, okay, we really are in good shape now. Yeah. The guts of Jarvis to come out and play. By the way, Jarvis comes out, goes back in the game after his knee. The guts of Odell Beckham Jr. to play with a grade 3 AC sprain. That is not a joke at all.
No.
And it was aggravated. Something happened. He was in a lot of pain.
Yeah.
He comes back in. And then the guts of Jed Wills, because Jed Wills playing had a ripple effect that is massive on the way that our offense was able to operate this game. and just all about the guts to take the ball at the beginning. This team, the guts to go for it on 4th down when we needed 7 right there. They had just gone and gotten 7, and Case Keenum finds a way plowing through tacklers to get that 1st down. I just thought this was Cleveland guts, Cleveland tough. The guts to send Chase out there from 52 into what I thought was a hurricane force win.
Crazy.
I was saying again, I'm like, I don't know that they can do it. Easily puts it through.
I said to my wife, we were watching, because you can't, on TV sometimes you can't tell which way you're headed. I'm like, wait, that's dog pound end.
Yeah.
From 52? That's where we're at?
Which in my mind was that's a 60-yard kick into that win.
Swirling?
Oh, yeah.
Because before that was the same drive, I want to say, the out and up to Odell. And Case threw a good ball. He got it out on time, and it was spinning. It was there, and it hit a wall. And on Teddy's post to John Brown, same thing. So incredible kick. One of the best kicks I've ever seen. Cody Parkey hit one last year in one of those absurd days into the dog pound from like 40, which felt like a major feat. But that was just an incredible kick by Chase McLaughlin.
He hasn't missed, right?
Not that has made it past the line of scrimmage. He's not missed.
That's right.
Ball.
Yeah. Right. That was not blocked. Yeah, he's done it. So and yet here we are, 16 minutes in, and we have not discussed at length the Ernest Johnson. You talked about this earlier in the week. I heard you on the pregame saying, I'm telling you, anybody who's been around here knows what he's capable of. If you go back to the Dallas game a year ago, you remember it well, what he is capable of called upon. And I know from the outside, people are saying, how is it possible that a franchise has 3, when you have 2 of the top 5 backs in the league, and then your third guy's really capable? It's possible because of how well we scout and how well how deep this roster is. But this was something else. This was the most tied Cadillac Williams, most yards for a first-year starting running back at 148 in his first start.
Really?
Yeah, tied it. This was special. His ability to cut back, his field vision. Now, a lot of it starts up front because that was a ballet. What was going on up front, the symphony that those guys were on the blocking. But his ability to see and cut is so special. I don't remember even one negative run. I'm sure there was. I can't remember one, Joe, in the game. It seemed like even when it was bottled up, he fell forward.
Yeah, I don't remember any negative runs. And for a running back to average over 6 yards a carry, almost 150 yards with no negative runs, it says a lot about his decisiveness, which is something that you usually see from a guy that's been starting 3, 4, 5 years, a couple 1,000-yard seasons under his belt. But that was the big takeaway from me. And he was able to see where the blocking was and anticipate where the hole was going to open up. And he made some great lateral cuts to be able to put himself in position to get his shoulders facing back north and south to the opponent's end zone and then run through arm tackles near the line of scrimmage. As offensive linemen, we always talked about we're responsible for 0 through 4 yards. And after that, it's receivers, it's running backs. So averaging over 6 yards a carry, he was getting the holes to get to the second level, to get to that 3 to 4 yards down the line. But he was doing a lot of work after the fact, making very, very smart, decisive cuts, not dancing at all in the hole, and finding a way to get his shoulder pads over his thighs and finishing those runs for plus 2-3 yards at the end of a run.
He averaged 3.4 yards per carry after contact. So,
that's amazing.
By the way, 3.2, you'll take that all day long from your offensive line. That means you're doing work. But when you add a 3.4 on the back end of that, that's an elite number. And he averaged 6.6 yards a carry with his long run of the day being 20 yards.
Yeah.
I mean, that in and of itself
is... a lot of times you see a 6+ yard average, and it's like
There's a
1
70
70-yard run and then a bunch of 3s and 4s. But to me, that's an offense that can have a lot of success because it's efficient. It's moving the football down the field. It's ball control. You're not punting. You're not getting a lot of 3 and outs with negative plays. That's how you build an offense that Kevin Stefanski envisions, right? Efficient runs, play action shots, no 3 and outs. That's exactly who they were last night.
I loved Ernest, and I know we got to take a break, so I'll talk about it more after this segment and just kind of share some things. But his story is incredible. I've tweeted out a video about the slow grind. It's called Slow Grind. Watch that, Browns fans. This kid, he's a special kid. He's a special human being. What he has overcome, where he was, and we'll detail all that more going forward. But it's definitely worth a watch. But I did say my favorite moment of the night, and Huff, I'm going to tie this back to you, It was when it reminded me of when I told the Hoff that The Rock followed him on Twitter.
Oh,
and
yeah.
The Hoff was so pumped up. And Dearness in the presser hears that LeBron shouted him out on Twitter.
Oh,
and
my
you could
gosh.
see he was like
Whoa.
LeBron James?
Like the LeBron James?
He was like, whoa, that's big time, man. Like, he was so pumped up. What a great moment. What a great
so
moment.
cool.
The video, if you guys haven't seen the video of the post game, that locker room celebration for him from his teammates tells you all you need to know about how he is regarded in this building, and most importantly, as you would say, Hoff, in that locker room.
Yeah, well said. And I think if there was ever doubting how important this one was, the emotion in Kevin Stefanski post game summed that up. That's how big it was.
Oh yes,
Yeah,
he was quite pleased after the game.
That was a big one. Those were your OBM hot topics. Ohio Business Regime, preferred copy provider, your Cleveland Browns, for all the X's and O's for your office. Call 216-485-2000. Visit ohiobusinessmachines.com. And we want to thank our good friends from Buffalo Wild Wings, truly the greatest of all time. B-Dubs offers 26 sauces and seasonings to handle any wing appetite. Feed the gang with our tailgate and tablegate bundles. Tablegate bundles are dine-in only, 20 boneless wings, everything pretzel knots, buffalo chicken tots. They're
baby.
only
Speak of
$29.99,
the
and they're
greatness,
here
not the devil.
in front
Speak
of
of
us.
the greatness.
Look at that. How great. And the Browns bundle is back at Buffalo Wild Wings for the 2020-21 season. During the 21 season, the purchase of a Browns bundle, fans get limited edition collectible Cleveland Browns glasses, 6-piece wing, boneless or traditional, fries, and a Browns glass for dine-in. Pay at the counter, take out, participating Ohio locations only. This season's collection honors the Browns' 75th anniversary season with 3 very cool logos, and we are thrilled that the wings
which are right
here. And
Yes,
so there
we
you
are.
go.
Amen. We're going to
Good
need
stuff.
to take a break, guys.
You said
I
it,
won't
brother.
be able to talk.
Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland. Browns fans can win big with digital scratch-off game brought to you by Ohio Lottery on clevelandbrowns.com and the Browns social channels. Fans can play once per day throughout the season by digitally scratching off a virtual card for chances to win great prizes like Team Shop gift cards, tickets to future games, and for more information, you can log on to promotions.clevelandbrowns.com. It's one of those ones where when you think about last night, you all right?
That mango habanero brings it. I love it.
Really brought it for you.
Oh,
What you got there, Hoff? Which one did you go?
So I got mango habanero, and then I just got the straight hot. I like heat.
Both of the heats.
But
do you ever go
they bring
blazing?
this-
Do you ever go blazing?
I told them, give me the hottest one they have.
Oh,
so
I think that's
is blazing the peak heat?
I think it is. I believe it is.
I'll have to see if they brought
I
us.
believe it's untoward. It's untowardly.
Have you guys seen? I don't know what
Is
that
a
one.
child crying? Is that a Broncos fan after what happened on Thursday night?
There was a lot that you mentioned the Dearness piece. The other thing that went around virally yesterday was the two Cleveland men who got to go on the Mayfields. Did you see that? Go to the game. Man, I need to know more details about that. I saw somebody shared you and I in the tweet about it.
Yeah.
That was their first game. How do we got to make sure they're at every game? Like, that was such a tremendous story. Incredible story. So that was very cool. I gotta find that tweet, get some more information on that because it was very, very good going forward there. Is that me? There we go. But you could tell, I think, as a coach, look at Podes is jacked up, ready to go.
Okay, hold on. Podes. Okay, this is. Have you seen this? Talk about going viral. Our boy,
Possible.
Our boy Starkey.
Oh well, yes, for sure. You said Podes. I thought Podes.
Podes was right there. Podes was right there.
Podes survived.
So a Broncos player literally spears helmet into the gut of Starkey, who's sitting on the sideline, legs in front of him. It happened so
I'm
fast.
always nervous about that.
He got annihilated. Podes was smart. Podes got out of the way. I was the first one over there, and Gibb said all he could hear me saying on my mic was, because not on the air, but just into Gibbe, was, "Oh my God, oh my God."
They killed Starkey. They killed Starkey is what he's yelling.
I just saw his flowing locks fly, and I knew exactly who it was.
I mean, it was
on the screen.
Full.
Yes.
I can't believe he doesn't have broken ribs or something.
Has anyone seen him today?
Apparently today he's feeling it. But last night the adrenaline got him through. But I was like, right on. I'm like, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" He's like, "Yeah." I was like, "Dude, Starkey, you're going legend tonight." I mean, off the charts toughness.
So Barstool tweeted it out. I mean, it went.
McAfee was all over.
McAfee
He's
was
like,
on
"How
it.
about the photographer?"
Yeah.
NFL tweeted it out.
Oh, NFL did too?
NFL.
Oh, that's great. That's good. So proper
Browns
appreciation
photog.
there. Yeah.
Yes, Starkey.
Yeah.
I just had to make sure I gave a shout out there because he went as my Dearness Johnson, #1 legend of the night.
Yeah.
Starkey, maybe #2.
I would it be fair to say that aside from players or coaches, he's at more of everything than anyone? Because I don't know that he ever misses anything. Feels like he's at every coach, every practice, every game. Like he's always there.
And he was in last year.
He's embedded. He's one of the two guys
traveled
that's
the whole
always
time last year.
embedded from our department with the team.
From last year too. So
Yeah.
that's what I thought. It's a good job out of him on that front. You could tell the importance of this. You could feel it firsthand. I think, guys, that's why there was such a release, right? When it went so well right out of the gates, because there's a sense of nervousness to it as well. Scarlett prancing around. He's even got a little bit of a faster strut today than normal.
Everybody's peacocking around.
They really are. A lot of chesty. It could have been, but you see the release.
By the way, some real chestiness is coming.
Oh
out
yeah,
my head
we
my
have
way.
that. Yeah, you did well.
Not today.
The kid.
We'll save it.
Save it for next week. But you heard it in the post game from Kevin Stefanski that how big that one was. He has never wanted to get emotional in the lead up. He's very matter of fact, one foot in front of the other. That's the way he goes about his business. But the pressure was mounting, and 3-3 to 3-4 versus 4-3. That's a Grand Canyon difference, Joe. And to be able to win that way, where I know it's 3 points, but in such control of the game, was incredibly gratifying for Coach Stefanski. Felt like a really big one in his early tenure.
It was such a pivotal moment in this season and Kevin Stefanski's tenure here, because sitting at 3-4, like you mentioned, is a lot different than 4-3 going into this mini bye. But more than anything, if you look at the Browns' schedule, the schedule gets awfully difficult. I think it's the third hardest schedule from this point forward. It's the most difficult schedule in the AFC North. The AFC North, within the last 3 weeks now, is being considered the most difficult division in football after the NFC West really was, the darling of the NFL to begin the season. But I mean, to be able to keep pace in this division, to finish at number 1 or number 2, which maybe even 3 is going to get you in the playoffs, but to put yourself up there, the Browns are going to have to win the majority of these games down the stretch because everybody in this division is playing really, really good football.
And 6 of our final 10 games are in the division.
Yeah.
Like, I asked the coach, said, have you ever been a part of a schedule like this? He said, absolutely not.
But
6 of the final 10.
7 weeks into the season, you haven't played a division game?
0.
Yeah. Let's do the Case Keenum conversation now because, he was brought here as the security blanket. Coach Stefanski, very familiar with him, obviously, from his time in Minnesota. There was a trust there that was needed and required in this organization. Case wanted to be a part of it, signed a 3-year deal. Luckily, hasn't had to play because Baker's been healthy and all things have been good. Baker is not, and we found out that there's more to his injury yesterday from Jay Glazer, and so the severity of that injury, everything from last night was that he intends to play against Pittsburgh, but there's a lot going on here with the man's shoulder. And so in steps Case Keenum, and this is what this was the word I would use, Joe, is professional. Mm-hmm. That was a professional backup quarterback performance when it had to be, and the pressure was incredibly high.
Yeah, what do you want from your backup quarterback? To be able to operate the offense as if he was the starter. You want him to minimize the mistakes. You can't have fumbles. You can't have interceptions. But just go out and give your guys that are the normal starters an opportunity to make plays, to do what they do. That's exactly what you want out of your backup. I think Case was that and more because he consistently delivered accurate footballs on time to those playmakers to give them an opportunity. And I think that was the most exciting thing for me, was just to watch the way he got into rhythm from the first drive of the game. You could tell the experience that he's had with this offense and the trust that him and Kevin have with each other as a play caller that leads you to believe that him as a backup quarterback, he has so much value to this team above and beyond what the normal fan would even comprehend, because there's nobody else that has that type of relationship and trust with Kevin Stefanski in the entire NFL.
Yeah, no. Right. And when we went into it, we said keys to victory, right? Number 1, keep Case Keenum clean. And I said when you keep him clean, it's about 75%. He's going to throw touchdowns. He's going to give you a quarterback rating in the hundreds. Last night, clean, 19 of 26, 73.1%, 183 yards, touchdown, quarterback rating 105.1. And you think about this offense, you think about this offensive line, especially with the way Blake's playing, and then getting Jed back, and hopefully Jack Conklin will be able to return soon as well. Play action, that's the other staple of this offense. You need to be a good play action quarterback. He has great play action fakes, 12 of 16, that's 75%, 149 yards, 9.3 an attempt to 1 touchdown, quarterback rating of 124.2. So Case Keenum is not going to go out there and he's not going to Matt Stafford it. He's not going to go out there and just sling it down the field and throw these ropes. But what he's going to do is operate within the system, and the ball is going to go where the offense and the defense dictate that the ball goes. And so he took the easy throws. Everything that was a layup was a layup. And I thought Case did a great job. The one time he tried to push it, it was there with Odell. I think the wind caught that one a little bit. But other than that, he played very much within the scheme, and everything happened efficiently as it was supposed to. And he did me a little solid by coming in at 63.6%, which in our game where we don't round is just below 64.
Just below, yeah, just below. Yeah, I believe you had that. No, I thought it's interesting because you're right. He's not going to Matt Stafford it, but so much confidence in where the ball is going. Those were tight windows on some of those tight end screens. The one he hit to Chief, boy, you missed that by a couple of inches here or there, and that's going the other way. Such confidence, such calm. I like that line. We talked about that a little bit coming out of Joe Burrow's game. The layups are layups, and that's that's what it was. The layups were the easy stuff was so easy, in rhythm and ready to go, and you could tell how much it meant to him. You saw his emotion at the end.
Yeah, and you got to talk to him afterwards.
Yeah, we got to talk to him after the game. It was great. I love his line about you don't have to get ready when you stay ready, and that's exactly like that. That is who you want as your backup, to be able to come in there and as a guy who's played with quite a few backup quarterbacks in my career. One thing that you worry about is because in the NFL, backup quarterbacks, they understand their role. Don't turn the ball over. Don't lose the game, right? Give those other guys an opportunity to win with defense and my playmakers. And what happens is sometimes they become too conservative, right? You see a little bit of what we saw from Teddy Bridgewater. Not that he's the backup, but you see those guys, they're so worried about making the mistakes that if there's any tight window throws, they just don't throw it. And they check it down or they throw it out of bounds. And then it doesn't take long for an NFL defense to realize, all right, this dude's afraid to take a shot. So they tighten up. All of a sudden, they're playing a lot tighter at the line of scrimmage. It's much more difficult for our guys to get free. They're bringing those safeties down to force in the run game. And now there's nowhere left for your offense to go. And so for Case to be able to come in and start slinging it right away and taking some of those shots, I mean, calculated risks, tight window throws, the defense wasn't able to lock in and say, okay, all he's going to do is check down or throw to the guy that's wide ass open. And that's such an advantage because there's very few backup quarterbacks that have that confidence in themselves and their ability to step into an offense that they've played in for a long time and had some great success in.
The other thing I thought I saw from him was what I would call some smoothness. Not panicking in the pocket. He would maneuver, and there were a bunch of times where he delivered the ball right a millisecond before he got
hit. That
hit.
one, I forget who the Denver defensive end was that was coming around, and like he was
Jonathan Cooper was coming.
Yes, Cooper. Yeah. Within 2 inches of sack fumble, and Case is able to get the pass off, and I forget who even caught it. He completed it, and it turned out to be like a big-time conversion to the running back. I think it was one of those routes like right over the middle of the center, and I'm thinking, man, isn't this a game of inches? Like, the difference between that being a sack fumble and us completing that ball and continuing that drive, I mean, that might be the game right there.
Yeah. That's all it was going to take, right? I mean, that's when all of us we're so confident everything's so easy. That's all it takes is one.
Yeah, that's a
put the
huge
ball on the ground
moment,
here
right?
or there. And,
you're talking about a 2-score swing when you have an opportunity on a drive to score, and all of a sudden you turn it over and they go the other direction on a short field.
We're now 9-1 under Kevin Stefanski when we have a clean sheet on offense. 9-1.
Yeah, the one is the most ridiculous.
And that's the fault of not us.
Yeah, the Baker part of this was, hits you over the head before the start of the game where you hear about the fracture in the shoulder as well. You know how much he wants to play, obviously. Any competitor does, and he's as competitive as anybody. But I am curious to see what the next week is like for him and what is rest enough. Obviously, he's going to need surgery at some point. But there's some big decisions that do have to be made by him, by the organization going forward in terms of his health. Because he is a long-term investment at quarterback, and it's in his career too. And you have to be able to see that. Can you see the forest through the trees?
Yeah, and Beau, you'd be able to give us some insight on this better than any of us. People are saying, "Oh, well, it's his left shoulder. It's not his non-throwing shoulder." But you have a fracture and a torn labrum. The beginning of your throw starts with your left arm.
Correct.
And your ability to consistently repeat passes to the spot that it needs to go to pretty much hinges on your ability to start the throw with your other arm. And so as much as we'd all like to see him get out there, I mean, can he manage the pain? Yes. But can he go out there with one arm lobbing grenades when that other arm is hanging on by a thread? Like that I'm concerned with his ability to overcome that fracture. Like that is the biggest concern. And I don't know. I've never heard of anybody dealing with that type of an injury and coming back and playing.
For the record, I just want it to be known that audio needs to be saved of Joe saying, "Beau, you'd be the best to answer this with respect to my high school football career."
Yes. Much respect is due there.
The Hoff saying that, by the way. Go ahead. Now you can continue.
No. You need somehow when somebody clicks on anything associated with you, that just plays.
That's
the intro to you. That's the intro to me. This is what you need to know.
That's what you need to know. Yeah. It's a fantastic point, though. The idea that it's his off shoulder. It takes your entire body to throw a football or to throw a baseball or to do anything with that type of torque.
And he's a very torquey thrower of the football relative to his peers.
He's a coil.
And he's like a wound up rubber band that completely unloads in unison, and that's how he generates the velocity that he does. I think if you're him and you're the Browns right now, you say, look, we got this win. We know what we get out of Case. Take your time to get ready, but we want you back as soon as you are able to do so. So do whatever you need to do to strengthen all the supporting muscles in that shoulder to where you feel there's stability and you can operate the way that you want to. Because I think what became clear was if you watch the end of last season when he's healthy versus the beginning of the season when he was healthy and then not, injuries, and you can speak to this as a man who played through all of them, although nobody ever knew you were hurt because you're such a goat. They can affect not only – it's not just the physical motion of throwing. It's something that you're thinking about, and that can affect your mind and your eyes at a time when you only have in the NFL 2.2 seconds before 300-pound monsters are bearing down on you. Coverages are changing. Lanes are closing, and you've got to make split-second decisions with the ball. When you have anything else that's bothering you, I think it affects that. And I think we've seen that in his play this year. And so I think what you want is Baker where he is able to play free, fast, and confident. Comfortable is the word you always use about Baker. When Baker is comfortable and trusts what he's seeing, trusts the line, trusts his body, he is an elite quarterback. When you're not, and that's anybody in the game.
You don't have time in the NFL game from when the ball is snapped until you throw the football or the play is over to think about anything but what the defense is doing to me and what my guys are doing to the defense. If you're thinking about, oh, my shoulder's not feeling right, or I have to think about I have to change my throwing motion and the mechanics to be able to get the ball to this part of the field, you can't do it. There's not enough time. It doesn't matter who you are, if you're Joe Montana or Tom Brady or Josh Allen, like you just don't have the amount of time that you need to think about anything but what's right in front of you, and that's the defense, and that's the guys that are converging on me and where the ball needs to go.
By the way, I hope that is the only time in history, whereas what he said about you recorded forever, that's the only time in human history that the three quarterbacks named in a sentence are Joe Montana, Tom Brady, and Josh Allen, because he's in the AFC, and we don't need him getting to any of those levels.
And Beau Bishop. That was the next.
That's right.
That was the next.
That's make
California's
on my
own
list.
Beau Bishop.
Hoff also got in there a very sneaky naval aviator. If you think you're dead.
That's right.
That's a big gamble with the $20 million plane, Lieutenant.
That's right, Lieutenant. Yes,
that's exactly right. We'll hand out
with the fist pump in the back. I love it.
We'll hand out some game balls coming up next. You'll listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland.
NFL start, going for 146 yards, averaging more than 6 yards per carry and a long of 20, which, like we mentioned, that's efficient. That's what you want out of your run game. You don't want the guy who goes -1, 2, 3, 0, 70 and then goes, well, I had a 4-yard average. I did my job. No, that's not how you can move the football down the field reliably. Dearness was decisive. He did a great job with his lateral cuts. He saw the holes before they were opening, and he finished with his shoulder pads facing towards his opponent's goal line with his shoulders over his thighs. He made it difficult for guys to tackle him on the second level. He was above and beyond even what the guys that saw him in training camp and preseason had hoped he could be.
Almost a demerit. But I had a sense that it was coming. I had a sense that it was coming.
Had a sense, yeah.
I'm going to go maybe a little off the page here, and I'm going to give it to Jed Wills because Jedrick Wills has not practiced. He said, I think, what did he say, in weeks?
Yeah.
And him being out there allowed Blake Hance to play right tackle, and it allowed us to present the best front that we could to what had been a very good Denver Broncos defensive front. And the guts that he showed to be out there, I think, contributed in a way to what we were able to do on offense because of that. We've had some breakdowns, frankly, the weeks that he has not been out there. You have a young guy playing, and this allowed you to get guys that are going to at least be assignment sound and allow you to execute, and that's what we needed today. And we got that. And so I'm going to give it to Jed Wills because I think the guts that he showed, and he clearly was not 100%, but the guts that he showed to be out there had a massive ripple effect on everything that we did.
I talked to him this morning. It was funny because we went and worked out, and I just threw my stuff in his locker because I'm like, oh, he's probably not coming in. The player's day off. And sure enough, he showed up, and I was like, oh, I'm sorry, I put my jeans in your locker. But I said, hey, what are you doing this weekend? You're going to get some time off. He's like, oh, I can't wait. Just kind of relax a little bit. But the next thing he goes, I can't wait to practice. And I'm like,
Yeah.
Wow. Like, he really hasn't practiced. And as a young player, not being able to get those reps during the week and then still go out and play as well as he did, it was amazing. And I think you alluded to it perfectly. Like, he, in my opinion, going into that game was the linchpin of my confidence.
Totally.
Because on the offensive line, when you lose a guy, a lot of times you make two positions worse because you have to reshuffle. And when he was able to play, he made two positions better. Obviously, the left tackle position, but moving Blake Hance over there, Blake was our next best option at right tackle after Jack. And so it allows you as an offensive coordinator to not have to feel like, okay, I need to give both tackles help, which really handcuffs what you can do from an offensive standpoint because now you've lost another guy in your passing route concepts. You lose your flat control. And then the guys that are in their secondary, they're going to be tighter on your receivers going down the field, and it makes everybody's job harder. It's like when you lose a cornerback, you make two people worse off because now your number 2 has to guard their number 1, and your number 3 has to guard their number 2, and so on and so forth. And so it was such a big moment when I was on set and I heard Jed was playing. I was like, dude, we're going to win now because this gives us the ability to definitely run the football. And it makes our pass protection so much better, and it's going to give us an ability to hit some of those play-action passes that Case Keenum is so good at. So I love the game balls. Z, by the way, great job. Here's to you, Big B.
What a job. What a job. Well, he's got
Thank you.
You got a
Thank
stick
you.
right
Thank
there.
you.
Your Big B stick's right behind you there, Hoff.
Yeah, you can hold that up.
First time in
camera.
studio in like 2 years. I don't even know where my props are.
They're all there.
Oh, no, that's for Gibby. That's for Gibby.
Put that away.
Gibby! Hey!
Oh, here it is.
There it is.
It's under somebody's bag.
There it is. There's the Big B.
Big B for
There it
Z.
is. Good job. Good job.
What a moment. Gibby came in.
He came
You
in.
can come in,
Came
Gibby.
in, came out.
Come be a part of the fun.
I was like,
That was
Give
like
us,
Homer Simpson, when
really
or
was
the
Homer
grandpa,
Simpson.
the dad, when he plays, puts a hat on, puts it right back on, walks right back out.
The defensive game ball. Mr. Z.
So that's an interesting one. Defensive game ball.
We spent
Actually, you
so
know
much
what?
time talking about the offense. Yeah.
I know, and the defense played great. They got
really
off the
well,
field
yeah.
on third downs. They did a good job. I'm going to give one just because this play I have not been able to get out of my mind for the entirety of the game, and we'll talk about somebody will talk about Miles in a second, I would imagine, but I'm going to give it to Tack McKinley for one play and one play. Well, he actually made two plays that I remember completely. One where he blasted off with a bull rush and then just flew through the air and kind of tackled the running back in a very violent collision for a loss, and he was very excited about that. But the play where he ended up, it felt like it was a zone dog. I haven't got to watch all 22 yet because this is a pretty quick turnaround with the stuff that we had to do this morning. But he, nonetheless, whatever he did, found himself in coverage one-on-one with Tim Patrick, who is a wide receiver.
That's right.
In the slot. And he actually mirrored the route and was right. He thought he got the PBU, too, because his hand was right in there. But Patrick made a great catch. The guy didn't drop a pass last year. He's got some of the best hands in the league. But to have a defensive end,
come on,
go place. We were going nuts when Owusu Koromoa did it in the preseason in Jacksonville. This is against a very productive receiver in Tim Patrick. And he mirrored that route, flipped his hips, drove in on the dig, and even had proper technique to use the off hand in front. If he had gotten the PBU, would have been all time. But I'm giving Tack the game ball anyway.
Who you got, Hoff?
This is something that we're going to cover on Browns Live this week with me and Z. I'm giving it to John Johnson.
It's a bait.
Little teaser there.
Just get him a big
He had
beat.
obviously the huge interception in the end zone when Teddy Bridgewater was trying to hit that post route. Was it towards the end of the second quarter or something like that?
Beginning of the second quarter.
My
and I
brain
think them
is,
waiting
mush
to
right
flip
now.
the field was big on that. Because with the wind, maybe. Into the wind?
Right.
No
The
chance.
wind played such a big factor, but this moment was awesome when we got a chance to watch that back because you see John Johnson bait Teddy Bridgewater into making this throw, and it was such an incredible job of taking what you see on film and applying it to what you see on game day because John Johnson lines up and he recognizes the two receiver formational split and what the concept is that two receiver side is going to try to do to them. So when they got to the single high safety, they were going to try to high-low the safety with a dig underneath in the intermediate route and then a post behind, and then the quarterback reads that safety. If the safety jumps the dig, he throws the post. If the safety stays deep, he throws the dig. What John Johnson does is he takes one step to the dig to bait Teddy Bridgewater into throwing, and then he flips his hips and opens and runs underneath the post route. And it's pretty awesome when you watch it on film because you see Teddy. He sees John Johnson breaking on the dig. He starts to unload it, and right when the ball is about to come out of his hand, he turns and he runs underneath the post, does an amazing job jumping up, high-pointing the football, catching it in the end zone in such a critical moment in that game. Who knows what happens if he doesn't bait Teddy Bridgewater into making that throw, and it all happened from the film study and his ability to recognize the splits and the formation that they lined up in.
And I want to give a little shout out to Jeff Howard, our DB coach, because
Absolutely.
Jeff had told them, when they went, and we were showing it initially in that look, John was down, Grant was deep, and it was going to look like the middle of the field was closed. And then as the snap went, we played two deep safeties. Grant went to his side, got deep, and John went to his side. And Jeff Howard said they are going to run a dig and a post behind the dig. Don't take the bait. Do not jump that no matter what. And John gave him a little shimmy step, but it was a step to plant and almost push off it. It was like,
awesome.
It's going to look this way and go back. And I said, to your point, Joe, it's tremendous film study. It's listening and your coach calling their concept because that was Sutton on the in, which you're worried they're going to go to Cortland Sutton with the speedy John Brown on the post. And also knowing who the quarterback is.
Yeah.
You can't give a little false step on a Matt Stafford.
No,
But you
that ball's
can
there.
on a Teddy Bridgewater. Smart. John Johnson. Game ball.
That's putting it all together.
Big B, Hop. Big B.
That's right.
Pull it up. Pull it up.
That's beautiful.
Yes.
All the pieces matter. Second hour coming up next. Take a look ahead to what is to come for your Cleveland Browns. Get your questions into Joe. Ask CBD. Get those to Gibbe at Browns_daily. And the scores. The Hoff for scores. What a treat.
This
What
is
a
the best part
treat.
about Thursday Night Football in Cleveland is I
boy.
get to do the Friday scores with the big boys.
Scores.
Wow.
What joy in the scores.
Pure.
That's all coming up next. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Imagine kicking back in the evening in your very own hot tub. Now imagine actually being able to afford one. Northeast Factory Direct buys hot tubs by the truckload, and Northeast Factory Direct took everything you hate about shopping away. No big fancy showroom or anything from a high-pressure salesperson. Northeast Factory Direct is a simple warehouse, and that's where you can benefit. The sales staff doesn't work on commissions. They pass the savings on to you. So if you've wanted a hot tub, now you can afford one. Now you can take care of it. There are a few things better in the fall. See yours for yourself. You can check them out, West 140th Street in Cleveland, Lakeland Boulevard in Euclid, or Freeway Drive in Macedonia, or shop them online anytime at northeastfactorydirect.com. So we have a mini bye week here now, which feels a whole hell of a lot better at 4-3 than it does. It would have been 3-4, obviously, Joe. From a player perspective, when you're in the grind and all of a sudden, I can't imagine what it takes to play a Thursday night on a short week like that. But now that you've done it and you've won it, what's this like?
Pure joy. Yeah. Being able to sit on your couch after a big win like that and watch everybody else in your division play football and beat each other up, and just being able to be a fan for a weekend is really fun. That was the thing that I enjoyed the most about my bye week. And then obviously it's going to feel great being able to get an extra day of work on the next opponent, the Steelers. Being able to get a little bit more rest, you're going to feel a little bit more fresh when that game comes around. And I just think that for these guys, it was the perfect opportunity to get that Thursday night game, 7 games in, to get that little mini break, to get some of those guys healthy, to feel good about where you are on this next little stretch run of the season here through the middle third of your schedule.
Yeah, no, we saw Chief in the tunnel, and he's probably already in Miami.
He's on the
he is already in Miami. And I think it's good for these guys to get home, get where they are comfortable, refresh, recharge. And what I think is cool about the way that it worked out for the Browns, when you saw Week 13 bye, you're like, wow, this is not good. But it's actually going to be broken up, I think, really, really well. You get 7 games, then you get this, and now your 10-game season is broken into 2 5-game halves. Because the bye week will come after your next 5 games, and you'll have the bye in 5 more. And Joe, I think when you think about this staff, and Beau, when you think about this staff, last year we really got cooking after the bye week. Yeah. Because that's when they got to do the big self-scout, and they were able to really dial in on everything. Last year, the Thursday night game happened after week 2. It was week 2. So you didn't have – that wasn't a 10-day period to do any type of an evaluation. You played a game where you got boat raced by the Ravens, and you don't even want that tape, and then you had this game against the Bengals. Now you've got really almost the same amount of time that you had last year. It was 8 games versus 7. But I think they're going to go down to the beach with the Chief, have a great time. No shirt necessary. He doesn't need one in Cleveland. Certainly doesn't need one in Miami. And then when you come back, I think you're going to see some smart wrinkles added into this offense that let you know, oh, all right, now we're here. Now we're going to be doing this stuff. I think it's kind of re-energizing too, because you're going to get some new stuff when you come back. Yeah,
I think the schedule is actually perfect. It was the schedule that I looked for when it came out when I was playing. And Colleen Wolfe asked me last night. She said, "What's kind of like your favorite time to have the bye?" And I said, I like having my Thursday game about a third of the way through the season, because then you get that mini bye, and then having my bye later, like week 10, 11, 12, because that's the point in the season where a lot of people are hurting. Even if you haven't missed any time, like you're banged up, your body hurts. And so to be able to get that bye with like 4 to 6 games left in the season gives you a great opportunity to feel good and be mentally refreshed for that last little push. Now, we didn't have many playoff pushes when I was here. We had one, maybe 1.5, if you call the Brian Hoyer year a playoff push. But
7-4 at one point.
You need to feel mentally fresh going into that stretch. And if you get that bye, I think earlier than that, or that Thursday later, to me, it just feels like it's much more of a grind. And when you're in that grind like mentality, it's harder to give like every single last bit of effort that you need in the film room, on the practice field, when you're feeling like you're just beat up and you're worn down. But I think that mental refresh, more than almost anything, is really important to get that bye week a little bit later on the second half of the season.
And if there was ever any chance that you wouldn't come back focused, the fact that you play Pittsburgh here next Sunday, as Buford T. Justice would say, is an attention getter.
It is an attention getter.
That's when you'll pay attention to.
Not even looking ahead after that, but then you get the Bengals. So your division season and what the things that are going to matter are starting now, and you gave yourself at least a little cushion. By the way, we saw Bill Callahan walk by. Absolute legend. And Joe, when you see a guy like Blake Hance, who took 0 reps at tackle, training camp,
you never even hear his name in a game. Like, you never hear it. It's crazy.
That's beautiful. Awesome. That's music to his ears. The sweet silence of my name never being called. how much credit do you give? Obviously, look, the guys are putting in the work and they're studying and then they're going and they're executing. But to have Bill Callahan to say, okay, here's a guy who's never played guard. I've never played tackle. He did in college at Northwestern, but we worked at guard and center all training camp, all preseason. Now he's going to make his first start of his career at left tackle against Joey Bosa. And then, in the middle of this week, looks like Jed's going to be back. Hey, now you're going to go play right tackle. We were talking about Jed. He was a right tackle. Now he's got to go to left tackle. And
that was such a big deal. Oh,
this
you only
could
had
take a
3
year.
months, 4 months to get ready. Blake Hans had 4 hours.
Yeah.
Not even that long. 90 minutes
to get ready.
He practiced. He did all the walkthrough stuff at left tackle, I'm sure, because they didn't think Jed was going to play. And all of a sudden, by the way, you're going to have to go to the other side. That's the thing that's the most amazing to me.
Oh, and Von Miller's going to be over
and
there.
by the way, yeah, you got to go against this guy named Von Miller. I don't know if you've ever heard of him. He's going to be in the Hall of Fame.
He said he was going to kill you.
He said he doesn't care who lines up. He's going to murder you.
Yeah.
Oh, it was amazing. I think if you look up any assistant coaching payroll
He loves
in the NFL, now he's listening in his ear and he just keeps walking back and forth. That Bill Callahan, he's sly like a fox. You look at any assistant coaching payroll in the NFL or college. Your 2 highest paid assistants are your coordinators, obviously. Number 3 is always your offensive line coach.
Always.
That's because they understand that guy has the most impact on the development and the performance of his position group out of anybody in the NFL, any position on an NFL team, because development on the offensive line happens and it's real. It's like quarterback play. You can coach a quarterback to be a lot better because it's decision making. It's not natural. Being a receiver and catching the football, that's natural. That's something they've been doing forever. A coach can help get them in the right position, but it's hard to develop them more than they already are because it's hard to develop speed. It's hard to develop hands. You can work on it a little bit, but as an offensive lineman, you put in the time, you're developing technique that's making you significantly better. And Bill Callahan is investing in guys that you're not even seeing right now every single day, doing the drills, watching the film, harping on the technique and building those guys so that if they do have to have that moment where you have to step in and go block Von Miller 65 times in a game, these guys are ready to do it.
Did you guys see the video Baldinger put up this morning of our very first play from scrimmage? Have you seen this? So it's you know how Baldy is. He's so great.
And he
at this.
loves
Great
the
boss.
union.
He loves us.
The union.
Loves watching film.
Loves
the
it.
ultimate film junkie.
Loves it. So he gets particularly excited here. And honestly,
This was the pass to Jarvis?
Actually, it's the first run of the game.
Okay, first
I think
run.
it's the first run of the game
Okay.
for Dearnest. And he describes our offensive line as like 4 Barishnikovs. And it really reminds you of like an old NFL films. Like you can almost hear Facenda's voice and those songs. You can almost hear it because it's almost every step mirrors. Like in unison.
That's this
Here,
offense.
Pull,
It's a ballet.
Like it's a ballet. It really is. It's special. It was very, very cool to see. This was a huge win. It was much needed, and it opens your door now to divisional play.
Yep.
It's an entirely different mindset. Pittsburgh here a week from Sunday. You come back next week, you're refreshed for it. Pittsburgh, Cincinnati back-to-back. Let's go.
Big games, and I know we're going to get the mailbag, and then we've got the scores. Just a pure joy edition of the scores. But we need it. We have made it this whole way with also not talking about the NFL's leading sack man, Myles Garrett. And
I think we may have an Ask Joe about that.
Oh, we're going to get into that then? Is there a big
about
Ask
the-
Joe for Myles? All right, then
about
we'll save
this,
it.
About this?
About
or
that,
the lack of this?
That, and also testing, all of it. I want it all.
Lots
Fine.
going on. By the way,
Teaser.
on a positive note, I can't remember if it was in there was so much good pregame stuff. Your guys' show's unbelievable. Your tour around Cleveland was just awesome. I just absolutely love that.
Following B West around Philly last
And
week.
then they did a piece with Myles at Playhouse Square. I can't remember if it was on the Fox or it was on the NFL Network because they bled together. But on Playhouse Square with Myles, it was
And the mural?
awesome. And the mural, yeah,
Really
it was
cool.
awesome, really really awesome. All right, we'll hit the mailbag coming up next. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland. It's got a beautiful ring to it. For a running back, getting extra yards is great, but ball security always the most important thing for gamblers. Keeping priorities straight important. Make sure your bills are paid before you spend money on fun stuff like gambling. Get more tips at keepitfunohio.com. Time for a little mailbag, little Ask the Hoff at AskCBD at Browns_Daily. These procured by Gibbe. Let's start with this one. This is from @DogBrownie. I always got to be careful when I read these. It's always nerve-wracking when
You never know what you're going to get.
You never know what you're going to get.
That's right. And they can be very clever.
Yeah.
They can make it look fine.
And then not
be fine.
Not be fine.
Bad.
From a lineman's perspective, is Myles Garrett really getting the Shaq treatment, or does it have something to do with the way he dips and bends? So for those who don't know, the Shaq treatment is the NBA got into a situation where basically Shaquille O'Neal was fouled on every play, but they couldn't call it every play, so people got away with a lot trying to defend him. Is that happening to Myles?
Absolutely. Because if you think about it from an offensive tackle standpoint, he can't just let Myles run around him 20 times in the game and hit his quarterback. First of all, your quarterback's probably going to die, and there's no chance you can ever win. So his only other option is, I'm going to take it as far as I have to, holding in order to somewhat slow him down most of the game. And so that's what you end up having. And it puts referees in a tough spot because were they going to go out and throw 20 holding flags in a game? Now, they try to officiate sort of along the rules, but at the same time, they're human in the back of their head, whether it's conscious or subconscious. They're thinking, man, I really can't just throw a flag every time, or the entire 80,000 people in the stands are just going to start booing me until they throw stuff on the field and carry me out of here. So he is really getting the shaft, and a lot of it is his dominance, but a lot of it is, too, how he rushes the quarterback, the way he dips, the way he bends. You can, as an offensive tackle, feel like you're putting your hands in a perfect position, and all of a sudden the way he bends, you're now holding him before you even realize it, and that's what makes him so good. So I don't know what the Browns can do. Certainly Kevin Stefanski has talked to the officials before the game, and they've sent in film of, hey, this guy's getting held all the time. And I don't know that there's a good answer about how to get this fixed and make it better so it's more fairly officiated on Myles' behalf.
Here's my thought on it. Because you're right. You can't call it every single time. But in the NBA with Shaq, for example, if there was a big moment and he got hammered and it didn't go in, maybe get a little bit of a late whistle.
Yeah.
The touchdown that they threw to Austin Eckler in L.A., which was a big touchdown at that time, late in the game, he was blatantly held in front of the official. So once you see that it's that, like on the second down play before they scored on 3rd and 9, and I think it changes the drive. You're now all of a sudden 2nd and goal from the 19 versus I think the situation needs to matter, and even the outcome needs to matter a little bit in terms of it, because we've been the victims of horrific calls in big situations, 4th down heaves. But you've got to give the guy some respect. If the difference is if they're not holding him and he's going to get a sack and end a drive and take points off the board, and because of the hold they're allowed to do something, that's sometimes I think when you've got to call it. If it ends up being an incomplete pass or whatever, okay, fine, because you can't call 20 of them a game.
Yeah.
But the fact that Myles Garrett sits here today after 7 weeks leading the league in sacks and has had to take more random drug tests than he's gotten holding calls in the year is wrong.
Well, and I'll tell you, it's one thing to not call it. It's one thing to not call it every single play. It's another thing to not call it ever. And he goes games where it's not called ever, and that's impossible. That's impossible.
I don't get it. Are they getting lulled to sleep, seeing him getting held every play? You know, if you're watching the same thing all the time, that like you don't even realize it's happening because it's almost like you block it out of your consciousness because it happens literally every time the ball is snapped.
He only got the one yesterday, and that was when Jadeveon got the sack, and so he declined it.
Right. And that one I felt was like, oh, yeah, well, we did call one holding. Right. He was already on the ground.
Yeah, it was a really late. The late
whistle's supposed to be if we get hurt by the non-call, not if it doesn't matter.
No, agreed. This from KDP, Mr. Thomas, the man who led me to wear number 73 for 8 years of Bay football. Good job out of you.
Who is the shake weight again? You bring the shake weight back?
That's one
of the funniest things I've ever seen. I was dying.
Who was the most difficult person to block in your career?
Real quick on the shake weight, was it Britton Cole that bought everybody on the roster shake weight?
Of course it was Cole.
Of course it was. He also would buy
probably
lobster
passed him out in Shearling.
Yes, that was delightful.
Come up here with wax on his hands. He's a Renaissance man, Cole.
Back to the question. I'm sorry. I was distracted by the thought of Britton Cole and a shake weight.
That's right. Most difficult person for you to block in your career.
So I always said there was kind of like 2 or 3 guys that really kept me up at night. I'd say Dwight Freeney was one, the master of the spin move. The people before him did the spin move, but nobody mastered it the way he did and weaponized it. I always told people he was so deadly because of how short and squatty he was. Like, no matter how low you got, he was always going to be able to get under your pads and push you back into the quarterback. And that's what made people sit and get beat to the inside because they were so worried about getting run over or having him run around the corner because he was so fast. But then DeMarcus Ware was another guy that really, I'm not going to say he terrorized me, but he definitely terrorized my dreams. And my week leading up, I didn't eat very well because his get off was so good and he was so powerful. He didn't ever look like a big guy, but he was the type of person, a little bit like Miles, where he could turn a speed move up the field into a bull rush in a split second before you have a chance to get your feet in the ground, and he could just toss you right into the quarterback. I remember watching some film a lot like Miles earlier in the season where he would just pick the offensive tackle up and literally throw him into the quarterback and sack the quarterback with the offensive lineman's ass. So he was incredible. And then the 2 guys I saw all the time in the AFC, James Harrison, Terrell Suggs. Like, I always handled them, I felt like, really well, especially because I saw them a lot. But they were guys that were really they gave me a lot of consternation going into those games because I knew we were going to get a lot of one-on-ones and it was going to be a grind.
He was a violent guy, too.
He was unpredictable.
Yeah.
Sizzle was his best attribute was you didn't quite know what he was going to do. A little bit like J.J. Watt. Like, I know he has to stay out in this gap. That's his responsibility. But he might go 2 gaps to the inside because he's going to take a risk to try to make a play. And he doesn't really care if he gives up a 10-yard run that he's supposed to be in that gap. He wants to be making that splash play, and he's willing to give up predictability to go do that. And that made him so difficult.
At the end of those games against those guys, the Suggs and Harrison that you saw all the time, do you find each other afterwards, mutual respect, like, hey, man, hell of a – because you both have a job to do.
Yeah.
Right?
I usually buttered him up before the game and during the game. It's always, hey, buddy, how's the family? Oh, so good to see it. Man, you played so well last week. Take it easy on me this week, And then after the game, after I locked him up, 0 pressures, 0 tackles, 0 sacks. They didn't want to talk to me. They were not interested in any niceties after the game was over.
There is a combat to it, and yet you both have the respect of what the other is capable of.
Yep.
And at the end, you want to kill each other the whole time you're out there. But then when it's done, it's like, look, he was just trying to do his job too.
Absolutely.
Which is, that's a unique part of the league in that.
It is. I want to go back to something that you just said, which I thought was really, really fascinating. And it reminds me of something I heard on the Manning cast. So for you as a guy who was so well studied, so well versed in what was going to go on, you not only knew what you were supposed to do, you always knew what the guy opposite you was supposed to do as well. And so the times that maybe you would have a problem is when you're like, wait, you weren't supposed to do that.
Yeah, you can't do that.
You're not.
You need to go over there.
That's not the rule of this defense, right?
Yeah.
And so Peyton was saying, a lot of the times when he would throw interceptions, it's because somebody did what they were where they were not supposed to be.
No, I know your coverage, and you're not supposed to be there. That's the hole.
You messed up.
The ball.
You blew the coverage, but you ended up being there, and the coach would be like, "Well, yeah, you threw an interception, but no, he's like, that's a positive play. Like, grade me right. I went where the ball's supposed to go for this coverage, and this." He's like, that guy messed up, and he just got lucky. But he said that's what led to a lot of his interceptions were because he knew so well what they were supposed to do. I think that's a fascinating thing. Maybe someday the 3 of us, a Hoffcast. Who would be for that? Pure joy.
So one of the things that Suggs used to do that was so hard is we used to run an inside zone to the weak side. So it was just me versus him when I was on the front side. And I knew he had the outside gap. He was supposed to be the contain element and force the ball inside to the running backs or the linebackers. But what he would always do is as soon as he saw action at him, he would take 1 step to the outside, and it made it look like he was getting ready to brace and try to make physical contact, and then he would swim quickly to the inside. And early on in my career, he beat me like 3 or 4 times at that. And I'm like, all right, I got to stop being such an idiot and just get smarter and realize he's not going to maintain his gap. He's going to try to jump inside as soon as we run this inside zone at him. And so I got smarter, and I kind of measured it a little bit, and I came out of my stance like I was going to headbutt him, and then I kind of sat back and waited for him to swim inside, and I caught him in the middle of a swim. And if you catch a dude in the middle of his swim up into his ribs, you can take him for a ride. And I picked him up and I lifted him, I slammed him on the back of his head, and it was like my most satisfying moment. It was like, all right, checkmate. I got you now.
Yeah.
You can't mess with me anymore. And then the next time he was all frazzled. He didn't know what to do, and he got that inside zone coming at him.
So is there a little banter after such a
He was
situation?
like, oh, you got me on that one. That was good. That was good. But now I got him thinking, like, what his old go-to is not working anymore. He's got to go to plan C.
Yes. Absolutely beautiful. The score's coming up next. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Season includes buying or selling a home. Howard Hanna Real Estate Services has you covered. Visit howardhanna.com/GoBrowns today. Time for a little segment we like to call The Scores. Hello, Gibby.
Give it.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. Shall we? What did you do last week?
Oh, I think we're just fine.
You were fine.
That's fine.
8-6.
Ooh.
2 games over 500.
Middling.
Your boy, not as fine. 6-8.
It's all right. You do.
It's not
you
all
do.
right.
You do.
It's not all right.
Well, maybe you made a deal there. Scores over under. Oh.
There's a new sheriff of Chestertown.
We'll get to that next week.
That's right. That's right. So we sit now both at 20 games over 500,
There you go.
which is a good place to be after 6 weeks of the scores.
Yeah. By the way,
Colleges,
That's impressive.
Homes, maybe
Again-
that Denali that the Hoff's in.
that's right. That's 20 over against the number. And by the way, Cousin Sal lost last night. He picked the Broncos, and his streak is over, which is disappointing because he's a great friend of the program.
It's 2 weeks in a row.
Well,
right?
but he still counted last week because he picked the winner, even though it was against the
Stop
number.
it,
Oh, no,
Sal.
he was quite
Oh,
chesty.
great. All
Yeah,
right, that's fun.
It's quite chesty.
That's
Yeah.
fun.
All right, gents, let's get down to
I
it.
need to get back on. That's 2 weeks in a row where I've been below 500. 7
It's
and
a
9.
tough
and a
league,
6
Coach.
and 8.
Tough league.
I know. Got to get back at it.
Once in a while, we'll get you a W.
By the way, these lines are outrageous.
I'm
Yeah.
just looking at him.
Are
There.
these, is this college football?
Jeez.
16 points for Detroit and 17 and a half. for
17 and a
Houston.
half?
Game number
And a-
one
and a 12er?
on this list, guys. Atlanta. They fresh off their win in London 2 weeks ago.
And
Had
a
little
bye
downtime.
off of a bye.
Yep, off a bye. 2-3, taking on the Miami Dolphins. 1-5. Miami, congratulations on none of your successes. Dolphins hosting the Falcons. Zegura, we'll start with you. Kick this off.
You get a bye week. Matt Ryan starting to play some good football. Cordero Patterson. What year is this? The guy used to. What's going on right
They
now?
found Kyle Pitts.
They got. Oh, Kyle Pitts goes across the pond and gives you 100 and a touch. What do they have cooked up stateside? Miami Dolphins. They go across the pond. Opt not to have the bye week after the London trip. Their decision. Is Deshaun Watson going there? Clearly, we don't like you, Tua. Nobody else, turns out, wants you either. They can't. The way you handled the end of the game, the mismanagement of timeouts, the inability to have a thinking man on the field, you don't touch the guy down, the clock expires. Miami in shambles. Ram it. Falcons, 48. Fins, -2.
Oh, my goodness.
-2.
I liked all the things you said. I wanted to just maybe highlight 2 interesting things about Miami. A couple years ago, their head coach was a genius in the NFL.
Yeah.
Coach of the year. What a hire. Brian Flores.
Yes.
He's doing such a great job. Now, isn't it amazing how quickly your fortunes can change and the perception of the job that you're doing can flip overnight? So that's been an interesting watch. But also, how about Tua? Tank for Tua was like the biggest thing going for a little while. Now, they can't get rid of him fast enough. Like, there's nobody that'll
no
take
market.
the guy. There's zero market
They
for
could
him.
have picked Justin Herbert one pick
Unbelievable. The drama in the NFL is unlike anything you could write up in Hollywood. It's tremendous. Atlanta 13, Miami 0.
Gutless Falcons 3. Hopeless Dolphins 0.
later. Ooh, the unanimous. I don't know.
Oh, baby.
Down
Up
payment.
next.
Down payment.
The 3-3 Carolina Panthers, which Sam Darnold will show up this week, going to New York to battle the 1-5 G-Men. Bishop, lead us off on this one.
Boy, not good for the G-Men. Everybody's out. Tony's out. Barkley's out. One of the other is Galladay out.
Galladay is out.
Dan Dimes, they put him back in after he's got concussion
Concussed.
stuff, throw him right back in the game, Joe Judge. I don't think there's a whole lot of buy-in with that organization. Give me Carolina 77, Giants 2.
Joe Thomas.
Go get the Hoff.
The Giants have waved the white flag on the era that is Daniel Jones and Dave Gettleman. And I forget what Joe Judge. I
Judge.
almost lost the head coach's name for a moment there. But
I'm Joe Judge. Get out here and run after the losses.
Hope,
Get out here and run after a training camp practice.
Training camp. Go run.
hope breeds effort. They have lost hope. They have thus lost their effort. Carolina 40. Giants 35.
Ooh. Rebellions are built on hope.
That'd be
Did
good
you
for
give
me
us the
on
same?
Sunday.
There's no rebellion. Same.
Okay.
We move on. This is the big one in the AFC North on Sunday. The Cincinnati Bengals, 4-2, taking on the 5-1 Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens, record-wise, the best team in the AFC. Joe Thomas, start us off.
This is an interesting spread to me. I feel like this is too large, right? Like Cincinnati is a very, very good football team. Their defense is maybe one of the most underrated in pro football right now. And I know Baltimore's been playing great. Lamar Jackson playing MVP football, but we're talking about them and forgetting the fact that they have a tremendous amount of injuries, and they've been finding a way to win on the back of Lamar Jackson week in and week out, which is not exactly something that you can always count on. And so I like Cincinnati 10, Baltimore 12.
Oh, I love it.
Zegura.
Right now, we're in the fourth quarter. M&T Bank Stadium.
Oh, God, a picture's being painted.
The Baltimore Ravens, after dispatching of the Chargers, they're up 13 right now.
Jeez.
Whoa.
Joe Burrow's
a
got the
book
ball,
on
and
them
all
there.
of a sudden,
Oh, hello. It's someone at the back door.
Bootsy.
Bootsy.
knock, knock. Who's
Get
there?
the door.
Joe, don't you dare give me a Joe Mama. No, it's Joe Burrow. Touchdown, T. Higgins. Ravens, 27. Bengals, 21.
Oh,
I'll be honest. I wouldn't be surprised if the Bengals win this game. I really wouldn't.
no, I
wouldn't.
agree
think,
on that.
I think they're really dangerous. I think that Burrow's getting better and better each week. The defense is coming along with Logan Wilson. They have lost twice this year by a total of 6 points. The idea that they're going to get run in Baltimore, I don't see it at all. I like it very close. I'll go Bengals 28, Baltimore 27.
Oh, wow. I like it.
Inject that into
Unanimous.
my veins. Like Johnny Stanton, IV, PFT commentator. What a great one.
Up next, guys, the Titans.
Wow,
fresh
this
up
one moved.
off their big Monday night win over the Buffalo Bills. The Titans 4-2, hosting the 3-3 Kansas City Chiefs. No love for the Tennessee Titans.
I did this yesterday.
What was it yesterday?
6.5.
Oh.
Zegura, you're up first.
Titans Monday Night Football, an emotional win. Honestly, though, I didn't come away that impressed with anything other than Derrick Henry. And boy, is he impressive. What he is doing, I think, frankly, historic. It is a different era. Somebody, they put the stat out about what Jim Brown had did and said,
Yeah.
oh, well, look what Jim Brown did. Jim Brown was as big as the lineman. He was faster than anybody on the field. I mean, he was like the Wilt Chamberlain of his era. Jim Brown would still be great today. But what Derrick Henry's doing in this era with these guys and these athletes and this where everybody's saying that we know you're giving them the ball and it doesn't matter, is stunning. KC is a terrible spread team, but I feel like we've just been given a 2-point little gift, and I think there could be a little letdown there. Mahomes.
Oh, boy.
40. Titans. 36.
Bishop.
Same.
Joe Thomas.
40-37.
I like Tennessee even winning this one. I got them 7-0 over Kansas City.
Yeah. Same.
This
Across
is
the board.
7-0. Mahomes shutout.
Shutout.
Is he washed? That's going to be the test.
They're going to try to
Is
get
he
out from
washed?
under that contract. You heard it here first. He's washed.
They're going to play some shell on them. Kevin Byard, maybe a pick.
Can't score a point against Tennessee Titans defense.
Wow.
Can you imagine? Like, there's so many guys out in fantasy, but then some people have Derrick Henry.
That's right.
And they have Mahomes. Like, so if you have those guys, like, you've won. Take your wins.
I got lucky last night. I didn't want to do it, but I had to do it. Javonte Williams. Everybody else on my team was on a bye. Nothing better than he gets a little touchdown, but the Browns win anyway. What a great scenario.
Up next, Bishop, lead us off. Jets, Patriots, as the two teams try to avoid moving toward the Miami Dolphins rather than the Buffalo Bills. The battle is to stay out of the cellar in the AFC East.
New England wins this game, but this spread makes it seem like there's some sort of juggernaut, and they're not. They're what, 2-5? Like, they can win this game 20 to 14, something like that. Jets. Sure.
Jets.
Yeah.
Joe Thomas.
New England wins 5-4.
Yes. Hoff is getting it. He's well in tune. By the way, I saw somebody tweet out the other day that JETS stands for Just End the Suffering.
It's been a lot. It's been a lot. They're playing better, though.
Segura, did you say same?
I did.
All right. Next, Joe Thomas will lead us off on this one. The Washington football team heading to Lambeau Field. The Green Bay Packers, Aaron Rodgers. Who's he going to own this week?
Yeah,
Packers, Washington.
We talked about Washington at the beginning of the season like this was going to be the best defense in the NFL. They got the best defensive line. No, they're not going to be getting scored on by anybody. And they've really been stinkers all season. And there's a lot of questions about, hey, Ron Rivera, you're supposed to be a defensive wizard. You've got all these great players. Why aren't you guys playing well? But I think this is the week they bounce back. I think Green Bay's feeling themselves a little bit too much like they were going into that first game of the season against New Orleans. So I like Green Bay winning this one 1-0.
Zegura.
Hoff has let down the entire state of Wisconsin, his home state.
I see this one a little bit
Crying in
differently.
their beer cheese soup.
Yeah.
Do I have that right?
A lot of, yes.
The
buy
beer
a vowel?
cheese soup.
Yeah.
Their curds. I haven't been that impressed with Washington.
Green
And
Bay,
McLaurin's- ram it. Same.
Packers,
Same.
ram it.
Heineke's been figured out.
All right. Now comes
gotta
the
go
fun
fast,
part because
right?
we've got some not-so-slobber knockers. The Rams playing host to the Lions. The
this
hapless
is-
Lions. Zegura, you're up first on this one.
Jared
Matt
Goff.
Stafford, 575 yards, 5 touchdowns, no picks. It's a
Or that,
Stafford.
or
It's
both.
a
You'd like to go
Stafford
first?
McVay revenge game. 1 billion. Ram it.
Rams 50. Lions 35.
Same.
Gotta do
oh
some
no.
math
oh,
there.
oh. Same, but different.
LA Rams 50. Detroit 40.
Up next, Raiders hosting
Come
the
on,
Eagles.
after that Spielman video, DLD was going nuts. There was
Hey,
emotion.
we got to go rapid fire. We got 2 minutes left, and we got 4 games, including the Sunday nighter that I want to make fun of
time on
Zegura about.
exposition, by the way. Just
Raiders, Eagles, Bishop.
Relief. No Gruden. Playing footloose and fancy free. Vegas 90. Philly 2.
Same.
Vegas 21, Philly 0. I do not believe in Philly. I don't know if they can win a game after watching the pathetic offensive performance from last Thursday. It was just atrocious. Their running back had Miles Sanders, good running back, 1 carry in the first half, and in a game that they should have been running the entire night. It's unbelievable. They're not even giving Jalen Hurts a chance. That offense looks like what my kids' flag football offense looks like.
Who do you have a
Wolf's
higher
gonna
regard
ignore you
for,
on
their
all social
offense
media.
or Steve Smith's regard for the Bears' offense?
All right, I give Philly a little bit more credit than the Bears.
Up next, guys, Tampa Bay hosting Chicago. Joe Thomas.
Tampa Bay 10, Chicago 7.
Weird. I feel the same. I think they're going to take a win and try to get healthy. They're real banged up. No Antonio Brown, no Sherman. They're banged up. They'll do what they have to do to win, and then maybe Justin will join Joe Burrow at the back door.
First time ever that Brady's quarterbacked against an Ohio State quarterback in the pros. It'll be Justin Fields for Chicago.
Great nugget right there.
Yeah, I think
Craig Krenzel. Huh?
No,
I know
Craig
that.
Krenzel.
Wow,
It didn't
that-
happen. A late cover for the Bears, 31-21.
All right, 2 games real quick. This one, the one they're showing to inmates all over the United States. Arizona playing host to Houston. Zegura.
Kyler, ram it.
Same. I mean, but who doesn't say that?
Well,
Forget it.
sometimes
I'm
it's
gonna-
right.
Joe Thomas hasn't gone yet.
Arizona 21, Houston 10.
Oh, my
Oh, wow.
Good God Almighty. Good God Almighty.
They're going to let their foot off the gas real soon in this game, and they're just going to
Yeah,
coast
who do
to
they
the
have
easy
next?
victory.
That's
Does-
what I
does
wonder. Who's
Houston
next
have-
on their
I
schedule?
don't know, but we got 1 minute. We got to go to break.
Okay, fine.
Sunday night football. Colts visiting the hot seat Kyle Shanahan and the San
Dad.
Francisco 49ers.
Dad, we're back at home. Trey Lance. It was kind of rough the first time. Can I believe again, Dad?
Nerd, don't worry about Trey Lance. We got Jimmy G back. He's looking good. That
So
calf
creepy
is
every
fine.
Friday, Joe.
Nerd, watch me eat my beef soup. It's the first beef soup of the season. We're in town like the good old days when it was Joe and Jerry. Nate, Niners, ram it.
Same.
Yes.
You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Elk and Elk Serious Lawyers, serious injuries. Call 1-800-ELK Ohio for a free case review. Elk and Elk's a proud partner of your Cleveland Browns. What do we do with ourselves on a weekend?
I'm sad right now. This has been so
Pure
fun,
joy.
and it's like 2 hours in the blink of an eye.
I know it. It's
Needs
crazy.
to be a 4-hour show after victories.
Easy.
Yeah.
Your tongue.
Easy, Hoff. You may be paid by the hour.
That's right. That's right, Garrett.
Some of us are not. Be careful what you volunteer us for, brother. It's good. Look, you get a chance to watch the league, though.
Yeah.
And that Bengals-Ravens game is going to be – that's a special one on Sunday.
Yeah.
Seeing what that looks like.
Be tuned into that. What a pleasure. The whirlwind, Roma, pasta, vino, lasagna, victory, wingies. Let's go.
What a win.
For those that don't know, I was in Italy last week. I know it kind of sounds funny even when I say it, but what a great way to cap off a crazy 10 days with a Browns victory in the most electric Thursday night atmosphere that I've been a part of since I started it 4 years ago.
If Nance can have a quarter zip collection living at Pebble Beach, Hoff needs to have like a workout collection where it's something like, after flying in from Rome.
That's right.
You want to get in the gym and work off that pasta. Where's some of the Hoff
I tell
collection?
You what, last weekend, though, the Browns did their best job to make my Rome trip very sad because I went to the little grocery store down the street from where my hotel was in Rome, and I bought like 10 of the 1-liter Peronis, and I had them all set up, and it was like midnight as I had my laptop set up. I got my international NFL Game Pass. I'm ready to watch the Browns where everyone else is sleeping, and I'm crushing Peronis, and then the game just starts going downhill.
20-0.
Pretty soon I run out of 1-liter Peronis after about midnight, and I'm like, this is the worst night of my life. I was so sad.
But pure joy today. Great seeing you, brother.
Totally the opposite feeling.